Welcome to the Guthrie Wineglass Marathon in its 37th year. I am Derek Abbey, and I am joined by Chris Sharkey and Sheila Sutton. How are you two doing on this beautiful morning?
Thanks for having us.
Great to be here.
So how did you kick off this morning?
I usually start marathon day at 3 o'clock in the morning. I meet a crew of people down here, and we basically build a finish line city with a equivalent of a field hospital, a food tent that's going to feed 6,000 people, and it's an early morning, and we've done a full day before the race ever kicks off.
And my day begins in Bath about 5 a.m. as my setup crew in Bath welcomes the first buses of runners that are arriving from downtown Corning.
All right, let's get down to the course then. So obviously they started in Bath, and just explain where they start and the functioning behind the start.
So the full marathon starts on Mount Washington Road in Bath, just down from the Steuben County building, and they start at 8:15. The half marathon starts a half hour earlier, and just to help lighten the load on the course and get as many of the half marathoners through into the finish before the full marathoners kind of run into them.
And how many exactly half marathoners and full marathoners were there this year?
So there's two numbers. There's the number that we had that registered and those that started. The total number of registrations that we had for the full and the half was well over about 6,000, but race day is a little different, weather dependent and other situations. So who shows up at the start line changes that. We had almost 1,800 start the full marathon and almost 2,800 start the half.
Yeah, so this is the unexpected part of the day. As of last night, the weather forecast was supposed to be just about perfect for these races, and we've got rain, but according to the weather app, it's going to stop later in the morning, and we hope that's the case, because if we didn't prepare for it, the runners likely didn't either. But right now, it's just kind of a misty sprinkle, and help keep the runners cool anyway.
Yeah, as we see the Guthrie Skycam here, we want to get that Guthrie Skycam up as much as possible. And in this rain, won't be able to as much. It just gives a beautiful shot of the runners and how they, pace out. And you start to see some runners really start to distance themselves.
And what tends to happen with a cooler and even the light drizzle that we're seeing right now is that we tend to see faster times. The lead runners, the elites, a lot. And those shooting for PRs, you just saw a pacer going by, those shooting for new Boston qualifying times that just came out on Friday. We may see some records showing up today.
Yeah, there were, that was quite the buzz at our Wineglass Expo on Friday and Saturday as Boston dropped their qualifying times, made them faster for all the age groups. So a lot of these runners found their targets shifted a little if they wanted to use this race as a Boston qualifier, which is obviously a really popular race. You see here they're coming into downtown Bath.
So let's touch on that a little bit, though. So if you come in thinking that it's going to be, 5 minutes and they realize it's dropped down to 4 minutes and 30 seconds, what does that do for you on race day?
Well, so the pacer that we just saw at the start was a 3:15. That pace group is actually will turn into a 3:10 pace group. So the pacers thankfully know what's going on or what to expect because it just came out on Friday, and we'll adjust the times and kind of push the runners to...
Yeah, right here we have a local runner, Joe DeFabio, running his very first marathon, and he's right up there with the elite runners. You can see already by the time they hit the village of Bath, they're already spreading out and the elites are moving to the front. The lower bib numbers tend to be the ones that have registered as elite runners. Joe there had a high bib number, so he didn't register that way, but he's got a good start. This is the lead woman coming in.
Brianna.
She's from Morristown, New Jersey.
I'm going to make a bet that I think Brianna's going to cross the finish line first for women. She is outpacing most of the women so far.
She is. She's
She's
looking
got
good.
a lot of race in front of her though, and a lot of walls yet to hit. So we'll have to see.
So we talked about the elite runners a little bit off of camera, and just explain why you decided to come up with the elite runner system.
We've always been a very flat and fast course and Boston qualifier, and have let elites in, but it was time to recognize them and give them an opportunity to be spotlighted. We started that in 2017, that they apply and have to hit a standard time, and besides being a lower bib number, it also on their bib says elite and allows them front and center space at the start line.
So you see, going through the village of Bath on a nicer weather day, there'd be bigger crowds out, but it is nice to see there are still some people out there with their umbrellas cheering these runners on. So we really thank the communities. Having a marathon run through your community is not the most convenient thing, and we just have a lot of amazing community partners along the route who put up with their roads being closed and traffic going one way just to let this marathon happen the way it does.
And as we said, this is Bath, so all that caution tape and the coning and the signs are thanks to our friends in Bath, the Bath Police and fire departments.
Yeah, if you think about this is a 26.2 mile course, it's a point to point. So, we don't loop anywhere. So you think about that kind of distance, we end up partnering with all kinds of police departments, fire departments, volunteer fire departments. We have all kinds of partners along the way. And, quite frankly, this race just wouldn't happen without all of them and without all of the volunteers. I'm sure, as the day goes on, we'll see some water stations. We'll see people at intersections helping keep everybody safe.
How does one volunteer for the Wineglass Marathon?
Well, we open and have the same site that we have for our registration, volunteer site. Here's that 3:15 pace group that I was talking about earlier that is now turning into a 3:10 pace group.
Okay.
Because that's the new standard for Boston. It's 3:10, not 3:15.
Yeah, we'll see this all day. We'll see, big clumps with those pace groups. And, the pacers will talk to their runners about what their strategy is throughout the race. And, they come in right on time. It always, as a non-runner, it always impresses me that you can do that.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but when I run, I cannot talk. So more power to all of these marathoners and the pace runners.
And that's Holly Hughes pushing her son Jonah. She's ran 4 years ago. I'm trying to remember the time frame. Pushed him and set a record. She's a sub 3-hour marathoner on her own, and previously just ran over 3 hours with Jonah pushing him.
Yeah, and actually the record she set was actually a world record.
When she said it.
She said it, yeah.
On this course?
Yes.
On this course.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
Yeah, I think she came in definitely top 10 for women pushing.
There's our 3:35 2:2 pacer. He's been here before as a non-pacer a number of years ago, and he's a frequent marathoner. I've seen him at other races. He's a lot of fun. Always wears the pink tutu.
Does he do it for a reason or just because, costume?
It just for fun, costume. Yeah. It just, he started and has continued it. Runner's World even did an article on him at one point.
We'll be right back with more of the Guthrie Wineglass Marathon on Big Fox. So now we're here in Bath. Welcome back to the Guthrie Skycam view right here as runners take this bend in Bath. So as they're still running through Bath, it still looks a little gloomy, a little rainy. So
Yeah, this is a new part. We had a new strategy along this. We need to give the runners a lot of road because it's a very crowned road. So we've coned it down the center line and had alternating one-way traffic. And we are really hoping this works because we've tried a couple of different things through this stretch.
It's the same course. It's just how we opted to cone it this year. We tried something last year different, and it didn't work. And again, it goes back to our partners with DOT and law enforcement that worked with us to come up with a better solution, like Chris said, to allow the runners more space and freedom. They're right now, what they're doing is coming past Lake Salubria and turning up 415 headed to Savona. So this is leaving Bath, and that's what you're seeing right now is where they're leaving.
That's Daniel Craighead there. Daniel is here actually from Lafayette, Colorado.
Oh, wow.
And Joe DeFabio still out in front, our Corning runner running his first marathon.
So who is the farthest traveler that you guys met this year so far?
We have 17 countries attending: South Africa, Israel. I met at the expo on Friday a couple that are here on their honeymoon from Israel. They planned their honeymoon around coming to do the race. They've been to Vermont. They were headed to Niagara Falls. So not just visiting Corning and our area here, but spreading out a little bit. There was the
Dominican Republic was here. Yeah, I think South Africa has to be our.
Probably our furthest.
That's a long trip. That's a long trip, and it's a couple who came and it's doing a Northeast trip and running a couple of marathons. So
the couple that runs together stays together.
Yeah. I was at the start earlier of the full, and we had a couple women from China they had their flag with them, and we were getting pictures. They wanted pictures underneath the start line banner. They were pretty excited.
Well, that's good that it brings in a different crowd of people, not just local runners, but runners across the country, across the world even.
Yes. 48 states. We're only missing Idaho and Hawaii this year.
So shout out if you are from Idaho or Hawaii next year.
That's right.
Well, the funny thing is we've had Hawaii almost every year. We don't know why we didn't get Hawaii this year. So
they looked outside, saw the rain, and said, let's go back to bed. But yeah, I wanted to talk about what the rain in this weather does to the runners' bodies. We talked about what it does to the speed, but what does it do to their bodies? How does it affect them? Well,
Combined with cooler temperatures, what we're liable to see is runners not hydrating like they should. Some it'll just keep their bodies cooler. Others that may react differently and get chilled. A warmer day and a little bit of rain actually is refreshing.
So as we see the lead man, Trevor Van Erickson?
Trevor Van Akron, here from Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. Interesting that our finish line announcer, Bart Yasso, is also from Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. So
they're now entering Savona, is what we're looking at right now on 415.
Yeah, there was a pretty big gap behind Trevor there and most of the other men. So maybe that signifies that Trevor might be the clear favorite.
At this point, it's looking like he's headed that way. It doesn't look like there's anybody within striking distance.
But again, we're just in Savona, so not even halfway there yet.
Yeah, we're not. This is just over 9 miles. We haven't hit the 10-mile mark yet for the full marathon. And again, even with this light drizzle, there looks like still a decent crowd out in Savona. This is a couple of our bike support folks that are out there. We have a crew of almost 20 bikers in green vests. They're out supporting the lead runners coming in, and then also making sure that half marathoners move to the side, especially on the bike path when they converge. and then bringing up the last runner walkers at the end of the day and keeping us posted if there's any medical needs, any concerns throughout the day. Couldn't do it without them.
Yeah, there are a lot of moving parts and pieces on race day. You know, you see all the road equipment out there. Our coning company, we contract with Comet Flasher, and they put nearly 2,000 pieces of equipment out on the course to block roads, to mark the course, to set detours. So it takes the better part of the whole week before the marathon to get all of that equipment staged and in the right place to be pulled across.
And then to take it back, it'll probably take them close to a week to clean it all up also.
That's right.
It looks like some leaves are starting to change. It's a very pretty course.
This is just about the earliest date that the Wineglass is run. A lot of people think it's the first Sunday in October. It's actually not. It's the Sunday before Columbus Day. So Columbus Day is very early this year, so the race is early. And that caught some people by surprise and meant that our leaves weren't quite at full force yet. But, you know, at some point along the way, the runners aren't caring too much about the color of the foliage.
No.
So you see Jim Allard, Sheriff Jim Allard there. He is one of our huge Wineglass partners. Jim always jokes that he's hoarse after the start of the race because he's yelling for all of the runners as they come across the start line and do that first bit.
You're good. You're getting good. Keep it up. You got this.
Chris, go Chris.
So at some point, we're going to start to see them, because of the offset in starting times, we'll get most of the half marathoners off the course by the time these guys come through. But there will be a point they'll start running into the back end of them. You know, one thing we should mention is as we looked at some drone footage earlier on from the Guthrie Skycam, this is actually the first year since the very first Wineglass back 37 years ago that we have a title sponsor. And this is the Guthrie Wineglass Marathon. And we have loved having Guthrie as our partner through this. They've helped us staff the 5 on-course medical tents as well as the one at the finish line. We've got a whole crew of their physical therapists and athletic trainers at the end waiting to give these guys stretches and help them recover after these runs. So
this is towards the lead, and we still have just a spattering of female runners through here. Our overall percentage for the weekend is 70% females that in attendance. The half marathon is close to 75% female.
Yeah, in fact, on Friday, which was absolutely beautiful weather, Market Street in Corning was just packed with groups of women who had obviously come together to do a girls' weekend for this trip and were out shopping and dining and spending money, because a big part of the reason we do this race is to bring a real economic boost to the area. When you have people coming from as far away as South Africa and California and Alaska, they're not just going to come for a day, they're going to come for a few days and stay in hotels and go shopping, eat, and really discover everything this area provides.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back with more of the Guthrie Wineglass Marathon, celebrating its 37th year here on Big Fox.
Now the runners are coming out of Campbell. They're going to head to one of my favorite sections of the course, up Tannery Hill Road, right outside of Campbell. This is just about a mile from where the half marathon started. Again, still where we haven't run into the half marathoners yet today.
Yeah, Trevor is still out in front. I met his father yesterday when we had the Corral 5K. This is actually Trevor's second marathon. And his dad thought he'd do pretty well, and so far he's right.
My understanding from Bart Yazzo is that there's about 20 runners that came up from Bethlehem for this, and I'm sure they'll be pretty excited if Trevor continues to do as well as he is right now. They're making the turn out of Campbell. There's actually a helicopter sitting here up to the side. There's a great example of some of the coning and set up to keep the runners safe with all these barrels that get dropped, and the Campbell Fire Department sets them up and strings caution tape to ensure the runners have a lane and traffic has a lane throughout here.
And just probably a couple of hours before, if you can picture it, there were 3,600 half marathoners coming through this section. So, the half, since it was introduced in 2011, has actually been a bigger race than the full marathon, because it is such a popular distance, and you've got a lot of time to finish. So Campbell is a hop in place at about 7:45 to 8 o'clock in the morning on race day.
There used to be a relay, and we switched to the half marathon. It's just safer on our courses, our roads, and logistically made the most sense. And folks have challenged themselves, and there's some of our local runners that do it every year, has done it from the first year we've had it and continue.
It's a nice way for you to be part of Wineglass Weekend without having to, train for a full marathon. You can do a walk run. You can walk fast and still make it all the way through before the course closes. And here we see the lead woman still in the lead, with surrounded by bikers who make sure the course stays clear for her. We have bikers with both the lead runners of the full and the half.
And we also have law enforcement on bikes. We have local to Bath. We didn't see it at the beginning of this, but we have law enforcement on bikes in Bath, state police and sheriff on bikes, and then also along the way, additional local law enforcement on bikes in Corning.
It makes it easier to manage if they're able to get to somewhere quickly and easily on a course where a lot of the roads become one way on the day of the marathon. Well, I had hoped by this point that the weather apps were right, that we'd be out of this rain, but it looks like it's going to continue for a while. Doesn't seem to be affecting anybody's time out there.
Well, these couple have gloves on. That was a smart idea.
And you saw a Canada jersey there. We do have a lot of Canadian friends that come down and race this weekend with us. There's Margaret Ludick. She's actually from Roseville, Minnesota, so she had a trip to get here.
We talked earlier about the weather making it so the runners don't hydrate as much. How much water do you go through during the full and half marathons?
About 600 gallons, if I'm remembering right. We have to plan for the worst conditions, and that's usually heat on, and we have about 110,000 cups that we put out the day of the race.
Yeah, you know, this time of year is a funny time of year. It can be 80 or it can be 40. And what you don't want to have is you don't want it to be hotter than you expect and then have to figure out how to get more water in cups to the 23 water stations. You know, we saw that this year in the London Marathon when it was unusually hot. And without water, it becomes a pretty dangerous situation. So our strategy has always been plan for the heat, and if we don't need it, it's better than the alternative. We do have whole crews out there that are working their way around, checking in with water stations, make sure they have what they need, make sure that any issues are dealt with on race day, and those are really really critical people for us.
So this is the half marathoners coming onto the bike path from behind Craig Park and the Corning Painted Post Middle School. This gentleman ran with us in the 5K yesterday. It's carrying the American flag. He carried it yesterday also.
You'll see a lot of runners with their phones. They might be talking on them, but they have to carry their phone if they're going to be tracked by our tracking system, which is RaceJoy, sponsored by Simmons Rockwell, and so they carry their phones with them. Then their friends and family can follow where they are.
And Trevor's still out in the lead, coming through at this point. We're about mile 22 and a half, closely approaching on the way to 23, and also mile 10 of the half marathon. These are some of we actually get runners or walkers that will walk the entire half marathon, and I think that's what we're seeing here. Again, it's a good reason for the bikers. They're clearing a path and allowing an open space for the runners to come through.
Yeah, the Wineglass actually paid to have the bike path repaved and widened a few years ago so that it could accommodate runners better.
Here
but
comes
you can
Joe
still
again.
see, you can still see it's a little cramped. Wow, Joe's doing very well. And obviously our law enforcement cars that lead things off don't join the runners. They meet them on the other side when they come out of the tunnel.
We do have a state trooper on a motorcycle, and he stays on the bike path and will lead through. Our sheriff's car will meet him on the other side of the bike path. It's generally how that works, and then pick up from there.
So there's a runner running without his bib on the front, so
Hopefully he's got that on his back. You can see the difference in the bib color. The reddish orange color is the full marathoner, and then it was bluish purple is the half marathon bibs.
Don't worry, there's more of the Guthrie Wineglass Marathon coming up on Big Fox.
Oh, there's our lead motorcycles coming through. This is the tunnel or bridge as the runners exit the bike path. It's just over a mile on the bike path.
and now they'll be heading into a new course set this year through the city of Corning that we set just to increase runner safety and mix runners with fewer cars. So it still obviously has to go through the north side of Corning to the south side, but it takes a different route down Buffalo Street in fact, the entire north side course is closed with the exception of where they cross Pulteney Street. So this is new, and we're really grateful to our partners at DPW in the city of Corning, who, when we changed the course, they changed their paving schedule to make sure that the roads along the new section were free of potholes and were a good surface for these runners. So it's part of the great partnership we have with a lot of these communities that we work with. And there's my friend Jean Cavoti.
And I guess we've been dealt rain for the day. It was 0% chance the night before. That's what lake effect does to us. Brianna's still in the lead, it appears, for the female.
And it looks like she's going to finish this in less than 3 hours, which is a very impressive time. Yeah, coming into the city of Corning, the new route that we have this year passes 75 houses.
It was a change between passing about 275 houses to now only about 75.
So it just inconveniences fewer people and helps keep runners and cars separate.
And last week, a crew of our bikers were out, and the feedback from them was that they loved the new section. So hopefully the runners today enjoy the new section in Corning as much as the bikers did.
That's a nice
That's
drone shot
view.
there. Beautiful.
Yeah, the Guthrie Skycam always brings out the best in these runners.
Yeah, so our course will close at 2:45 today, which means the full marathon runners are going to have
6.5 hours.
6.5 hours to finish. Obviously, these guys are not going to need that much time.
Here comes Margaret. I believe she's number 2. She's still of the females.
I think that's our second woman there. Yep.
Some years we have tight races, and other years they disperse and go out ahead and stay there. And it appears that's what we're looking at this year.
Now, when you saw Brianna Deming run by, you said that she was going to finish in most likely under 3 hours. What is the course record for women and men?
The course record for the women is 2:44 and change, which is also a Olympic trial time, qualifying time, and
It was 2:20.
2:20, which was set last year in 2017 by Tim Chichester.
Yeah, Tim Chichester actually holds the record for both the full and half marathons at the Wineglass.
Correct.
So he's
someone local. He's a chemistry teacher out of Alfred area. And the flow of full marathoners will continue to come off the bike path.
Yeah, Alfred's actually one of our partners in the Wineglass. They have students studying to be athletic trainers who come down and help us in the medical area. So we'll have over 2,000 people out on this course today, helping with water stations, medical, you name it. And we call it the luxury cruise ship ratio of volunteers to runners. We like them to feel very supported, and that's some of the feedback that we get from our runners is how welcome they feel by folks in our community. They also appreciate races that are organized and go off on time. If you can imagine, every one of these runners had to be bussed to a start line at either the full or the half marathon. And that means basically half the population of the city of Corning is bussed from buses on Tioga Avenue in Corning to the start lines in less than 2 hours. So it is a massive logistical exercise, and if it doesn't go well, it's not so good. There's Renee. She's with us from Bristol, Rhode Island. Quite a gap between her and number 2, but she'll make the podium if she stays there.
Stay tuned to find out who crosses the finish line for the Guthrie Wineglass Marathon on Big Fox.
You can get a bus with us from Corning, or you can take one from Bath to either start line as well. We use just about every private school bus company there is.
The morning of the race, or this morning, we bussed about half the population of Corning to the start lines. It's an amazing thing to witness.
Now, why can't they just, drive themselves there, or, be dropped off there?
Security. And we just need to have it closed for just the runners. This year is the 150th anniversary of glassmaking, and what we've been doing the last number of years is doing some kind of a nod to the area on our glass medals.
This is actually the winner of the half coming in, David Sinclair from Peru, Vermont.
And that is a new course record.
This is actually my big training race for in 2 weekends. I'm running the Hartford Marathon in Connecticut. So this is my tune-up for that. I've been running probably every day essentially for the last 3-4 months training for this, and doing a lot of long runs, so up to 15-20 miles on the weekends, stuff like that.
Second place finisher coming in, Garrett Kenyon from Beaver Dams.
Last season I ran 3 half marathons all at 110, and so this was like a 66 low, so it was like a very good feeling to hit that, and it's kind of like a hometown race for us. So my team is based in Beaver Dams, New York, right up the road 20 minutes. So we just moved to the area, and it's our pro team. We're an all vegan pro team, and so we wanted to tell people that you can run and do amazing on a plant-based diet. So yeah.
Yeah, if you can imagine, they just ran 13.1 miles in just over 1 mile 6 seconds. This is Juris Salinkis from Allison Park, Pennsylvania.
Here's Laurel Leon.
Laurel's from Manlia. She's actually the wife of our timing company. Quite a runner. Followed by Catherine Potter from Hanawa Falls.
I feel great. I got to run with a friend of mine who's a Rochester area runner. So we're friends from other area races. And, I felt pretty strong, and, I was pleased with the result. I'm not part of a team or anything. I just run consistently, do some of my own workouts. Some outside, some on treadmill. I have 2 young kids, so just kind of fitting it into that busy lifestyle. I do the best I can.
I'm training for the Philadelphia Marathon. So my coach let me do this race for a workout, and last year I got second too, so I didn't expect it this year, and I have 80 plus miles on my legs last week, and I'm just beyond excited because I felt great. Laurel, I give her all the credit. She ran a great race. I stayed right behind her. She dragged me along, so very thankful she did it.
Yeah, when we have these fast half runners come in, it's interesting. The people who are at our full start line don't even make it back here by the time these guys come in.
So we just saw as they pass through, obviously they get their medal, they get a thermal blanket. Explain why they need the thermal blanket.
It keeps the heat in and warms them. They'll get chilled. Right now we have Steve Narby, who ran carrying the American flag for Trooper Nick Clark. He's wearing his bib is actually Nick Clark's badge number, and with him is a retired state trooper, Charles Scott, and supporting both of them on bike was Connor Sutton, who is currently a state trooper investigator. And
this was a very emotional moment. Nick Clark, for listeners who don't know, was killed in the line of duty in July in a very, very tragic, senseless death. So this is still pretty raw for a lot of people in this community. Yeah,
Steve and Charles just folded the flag in a traditional ceremony.
And here he is handing it to Nick Clark's parents.
So Trooper Clark's parents are right here getting the flag.
Nick's family is from Troopsburg, New York. And it was a very, very sad day in Corning in July.
And obviously we have a tremendous amount of support from the state troopers, and so it's pretty close to all of us.
Quite the honor for Trooper Nicholas Clark. A way to be remembered.
Standing behind them were more state troopers, and in fact with some K-9 units as well.
And here, these two runners ran the full marathon with dresses that look like an old Corel pattern.
The little blue cornflower makes its appearance.
Yes. Now here is Matt Vince pushing his son from they did the half marathon.
We have the full winner coming in, and Trevor has taken it almost from the very beginning.
Sure has. Still looking strong.
Amazing finish for him.
Just over the course record, 2:23 from Bethlehem, Pennsylvania.
Graduate of Princeton, ran at Princeton.
Knowing the Wineglass Marathon and its reputation, I knew there would be a lot of great competition. People run very fast here, and so I knew if I was going to compete at the front, I'd have to be aggressive and get out hard. I was really happy, even in the conditions, to run a pretty fast time. And when I found myself out front, even early in the race, I just tried to stay calm. I knew it would get hard eventually, and I would just have to power through once the miles got tough. But to cross that line first in such a big event was a really special feeling for me, and very gratifying when you're a high school teacher and you have long days and you're trying to fit the training in. Sometimes it's, you have to question why you're still doing it and why you're trying to compete at such a high level. But days like today, crossing the line first, certainly remind me why I do it.
We are very happy he came and ran with us today.
I think the 20 folks from Bethlehem will be celebrating tonight.
Yeah, this is a very emotional win for Trevor. And we see this every year at the marathon. We see the leader wait for the second and third runner to come in because they have pushed each other all day. So Daniel Craighead from Lafayette, Colorado takes second, and third to Greg Mariano from Alexandria, Virginia. Those were common numbers right from the start.
And Daniel finished just around 3 minutes behind Trevor.
And Brianna's going to take this. The question's going to be, is it going to be fast enough to get her an Olympic qualifying time? And 2:44 it is.
With a new course record, 2:44.35. And that gets her into the Olympic trials.
And you can see she doesn't quite believe it.
I trained the hardest I've ever trained in my life, and I can't believe I just made the Olympic trials time. I really didn't think I was going to be able to do it at the end, but I just held on for as long as possible. This segment was 13 weeks of training, and I've run Rochester twice, and I won Rochester twice, and I've run Boston twice. This is my first time with the Wineglass.
Gary's coming down.
It was really nice. I I like the downhills. It's like very scenic. The rain is not that great, but like the temperature is perfect. It's not humid and like cool, so I didn't overheat or anything. I think we're gonna get some of that finish line brew. Liquid Shoes Brewing. Go back to Webster and hang out with family and celebrate.
Finish line tape being held by the Chief of Medicine at Guthrie. This is the whole, we call it our runner rewards area because we couldn't think of any other name, but you get your medal, you get a heat sheet, you get a bottle of water,
and just down from here, right there is we have a PR bell. If it's your second time running or third time and you beat your previous time, you get to ring the bell.
And you could see from that line a lot of PRs today. It was a good run, and we are looking forward to October 6th, 2019.
Thank you for joining us for this year's Guthrie Wineglass Marathon on Big Fox. Be sure to join us next year on October 6th, 2019 for the 38th annual Wineglass Marathon. Also, registration begins on December 1st. Stay tuned for more from the Guthrie Wineglass Marathon.